because it also matters that the House impeachment managers, and it confused me, and I follow this for a living, presented a video that claimed at least 7, and I was like, what happened to 5?
Yeah.
7's a new 5? They claimed that 7 people died. That's not true. Here you go.
Lies in your own cities, your own counties, storm your own Capitol buildings, and take down every one of these corrupt motherfuckers. Hang them!
Okay. That is a lie.
Yeah.
Now, let me be
one crazy guy.
really clear about this. Okay. Ashley Babbitt is a person who we know was shot by the police.
Yeah.
Obviously, and that's horrible. That's a tragedy. I'm really, that genuinely makes me sad that happened.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
There were 5 reported deaths. There were not 7 reported deaths initially. Now they changed it. The 7 includes 2 officer suicides, which happened days after the riots.
Yeah.
No cause, by the way, is known. Someone who was trampled to death in what was reported as a medical emergency. We don't have all the information on that.
Yeah. 2
of the other 5 died of a heart attack and a stroke, and the times of death cannot be confirmed. Now, the one that they focus on, as far as the officers, Officer Sicknick, he was originally reported to be bludgeoned to death with fire extinguishers. And as everyone here, I'm sure we were all horrified to hear that. And if that did happen, we are, in fact, horrified to hear it. If someone bludgeoned him to death with a fire extinguisher, I want to see them fry. Okay?
Yeah.
That being said, there was misreporting here, which is cited as a source with the impeachment folks. The reports of his death went to Twitter at 5:54 p.m. It was a misreport. His time of death was listed at 9:30 p.m. 9:30 p.m., Sicknick's autopsy. It hadn't been released. Reports refuted that he died from blunt force trauma, by the way. It's not been released yet. There are reports that are refuting that already. Here's the thing with Sicknick, too. Because this matters, I'm about to get to the Trump video on the timeline where they try to say that he condoned violence. He texted his brother after returning from the riot saying that he was okay, but he got pepper sprayed twice. His family later learned he suffered a stroke and that he died on the 7th. Right? The report of his death was at 9-something p.m., I think 9:54 p.m.
Yeah.
And by the way, investigators have been completely unable to match the video of him being attacked with the fire extinguisher. They don't have that video of him being bludgeoned to death with fire extinguisher. And there's a ton of footage. Doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Right, yeah.
But again, you said 7 deaths, and 2 are suicides days later. And other ones are unconfirmed in a heart attack and a stroke. Listen, you are standing on the graves of people and politicizing it.
Yeah.
This is already tragic enough. This is already wrong enough. It's nowhere near the Black Lives Matter riots as far as damage, as far as deaths, as far as officer casualties. It's not even close. And you guys encourage that. We'll have a super count of that on Monday. I bet you they'll probably bring it up in the impeachment. All of Trump's worst versus all of the worst folks saying summer of love and we're going to burn this down and these people need to be heard and riots are the voices of the unheard. You are the party of encouraging violence and telling businesses in California, you know what, we're not going to, just don't report the theft unless it's $1,000 minimum. That's what was happening in California. Okay? So you said 7 after we had heard 5, and here's something else that is really important to note. It was at 2:38 p.m. After the riots, Trump tweeted this exactly. Please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful.
Violence.
Now, what they're trying to say is Donald Trump said, we love you to them. Like he said, we love you to rioters who were killing people. Keep in mind that every single one I mentioned, most of them were days later. None of the deaths at this point had been reported. None. No deaths had been reported, just injuries at this point, where Donald Trump released this video where he said you need to be peaceful, and he said we love you because he was, at this point, talking to people who rioted, something got out of hand, but at this point there were no deaths yet. It wasn't like Black Lives Matter. Here's the video.
So go home. We love you, but you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt.
That was before any deaths were confirmed. After deaths have been confirmed, after many deaths, after hundreds of officer casualties confirmed, after billions of dollars in damages, you still have leaders of Democrat cities who haven't said that, who haven't said you need to go home and stop. Can you imagine this for a second? Do you think for a second, if again, at this moment in time, context, no one had died yet, there were only injuries. Nowhere near the severity of Black Lives Matter.
Not at all.
Not saying that the attack here is justified. But let's imagine a scenario, okay, where Black Lives Matter breaches let's say breaches the CNN building. Let's say breaches some state capitol building. And at that point, there's no deaths, right? And they're saying we need to be heard. Could you imagine any Democrat politicians saying anything other than their voices need to be heard and we need to not be violent, but still we need to listen to them? They wouldn't have spoken as strongly and condemned Black Lives Matter as strongly as Donald Trump did before there was a single life lost. How do I know? Because you've had months and you haven't done it.
And a number of people even just thought they were peaceful protests in the first place and defended the rioting, even though they could see the cars burning right behind the CNN reporters saying that it was mostly peaceful protest. One quick question, and I don't